Let's talk about Yahweh, or the creator of this world, this realm that we're in. And let's do a overview and a unpacking of the weights or the scales, the measurement of how much evil this being is responsible for. So I'm going to start with the very basics and give you the most severe of conditions and disasters or tragedies that are in our world. And this should make it clear for anybody that is thoughtful enough about reality or contemplating life or existence will be able to evaluate the creator being or the being responsible for this dimension or existence and be able to do a great critique on the issue of this being's character, whether it's good or evil, holy or mischievous and malevolent. So I'll start with an example, some massive example, one of the greatest tragedies that are in our human and animal world and in nature, and that is earthquakes. Think about it. It's only a few questions I have. It's only a few questions that all of us should have. If the being that created this world was ethical, righteous, or loving, and all of our sufferings are only because of humans having free will, then the question is, why would this creator or this creator being, if you want to go to the Greeks, Zeus, or the Romans, Jupiter, go to the Jews or the Hebrews, Yahweh, to the Africans, West Africans, and Egyptians, you have Shango, Jakuta, Re, the god Re or Ra, the Babylonians, Sumerians, Marduk, Baal amongst the Canaanites, any of these creator beings. That's just universally summarized this as saying the creator, the being responsible for creating this world that we humans exist in, the being responsible for creating humans and all of these mythologies. The symbol that these myths represent being this force of nature called electromagnetism or gravity or the forces of nature, the strongest forces of nature that keep our realm operating and continuing in its engineering and the force of life that we all are bound in the existence of. That entity, they anthropomorphize him as a male king, but the key universal label for this being, an attribute, is that he's a thunder god or a god of lightning and thunder. Well, that entity, that being is who we're speaking of. We're putting Yahweh on trial. We're putting this being Zeus on trial. We're putting the creator of this physical world on trial. Now, the question that we have, if we are to analyze and to investigate the activities and the motives of this deity, why would you kill and brutally cause suffering and murder to over 8 million human beings for the last 2,000 years? This being or this entity is without a doubt is severely insane and is what we would call demented and wicked. Now, it's either one of the two. It could be a deity that is blind and ignorant and it has no conscience, or it has a conscience and it's far more wicked or evil than any other entity in our known universe. And yet we worship this entity when, if you knew the true intentions of this force or this being, you know that the illusion that we are living in when we speak of worship or religion or being devoted to this entity, we're actually worshiping a being who eats our fear and eats our suffering. This is what all of horror, all of the left-hand occult, all of the dark arts embody. This is what they're trying to convey, that there's entities behind the veil or the screen of our realm that created this dimension to eat us as a food source, the secretion of our hormones and our fear. There's many references in ancient texts. We can even prove this through science and biology if you want to remove the mythology and the mysticism. We just deal with the raw, basic, material substance of what we're speaking of when we speak the truth, to say that our existence is merely a arrangement to give security of food and energy to entities that'll be on the scope of our awareness or immediate awareness. The chief of them, all of the ancient world, considered him king of these gods, or these false gods, these demons that humans were seduced by to worship. The Jews, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, the only ones who were wise enough or insightful enough to defy these demons parading as gods were the wisest and the most holy of men and women, the sages, the renunciates, the monks, the enlightened, the Buddhas, the yogis, the sadhus, and the what are called siddhas, mahasiddhas. All of them are just terms that mean sages or wise men or wise women that realize these truths that I'm telling you, that I'm using for right now an example of earthquakes. Like I said, the question is, how is this being not the most wicked or evil entity that you can comprehend or been exposed to, when this entity is responsible for a tragedy and a disaster as severe as the earthquake that will swallow and kill thousands upon people. Just recently, we had an earthquake here on our planet that took at least, at minimum, it was about 1,000 people. And they can be blamed as if it's the reason for the earthquake was for their sins. No, that's ridiculous. That's projecting and constructing delusions out of the fabric of nothing, creating what are called narratives and paradigms that have no basis. You have to prove this. But even logically, why would an entity create these humans just to abuse them and harass them and terrorize and traumatize them with earthquakes? So that's the first initial indictment. I have a long list of indictments in investigating the nature and the character and motive and the evils of this entity. And the reality, the bigger point is for us to reach a clarity or an awareness of the existence and the dimension of reality that we are living in. Whether you want to say it's the physical world, earth, life, physical existence, etc., we're exposing this because all of the issues that we think that we can expose that are corrupt, that are unfair, whether it be political, racial, gender-based, class-based, all of these injustices are all just layers. You're barely scratching the surface, and it's a fear, it's a resistance to go as deep into the level of unraveling the injustice or the unfairness of what we all as humans are susceptible to being victims of. So our awareness can only have a certain amount, a limit of time to evaluate and remove the layers of the veil of what we are labeling our suffering. So for those who are thoughtless and take no thought on account of anything that we're in, they have no awareness of anything being a cause of suffering for them. And that is someone who is ignorant and someone who is in the dark. But anyone who awakens, they call it becoming woke or becoming awakened or conscious. Anybody that's listening to this and anybody who can relate, the first layer of your awakening will be one layer of what you indict or what you discover is a great cruelty or evil that needs to be exposed. It could be a network of sexual predators that are trafficking and eating and sacrificing children. You would say that's a severe exposure that needs to be revealed and stopped. And it's with a certain urgency or panic. Well, same thing with people who discover racial supremacy and racial oppression. They say, oh, that must be stopped. It's a great evil. Those who figure out systematic economic enslavement through the industrial capitalistic system. Oh, that must be stopped. That's a great evil. But I think if you haven't spent the time to contemplate and evaluate all of the layers and how long you would need to take to unravel all of the layers, I'm telling you now, at the final tiers of the last few layers of unraveling what is evil or what is foul or unacceptable about this existence or this society or this life, you'll come to the layers of discovering we were lied to and deceived about the character and the position and the intentions of the very deity who created all of this that we're in. See, I don't know if you're ready to evaluate that being. You're ready to evaluate Trump or Biden or Clinton or the elite. You're ready to question them and evaluate their character and their intentions as being evil or not. But are you ready to evaluate the founders, not of your government, the controllers, not of your government, but the founder and controller of the very entire dimension that you're living in? If you think Trump is unfair or is unjust or is evil or ignorant or sick, then I don't think you've evaluated how evil, sick, and abusive and oppressive this Yahweh or Zeus or Jupiter is in this physical world. Right now, billions of animals are being slaughtered and terrorized and traumatized by this entity that created the whole dimension. They have no free will, so they cannot be going through that suffering because they did not follow or did not do as they were commanded from some entity. They don't have a comprehension of a command. They only do what their impulse is that this Yahweh or Zeus or Jupiter gave them or created in them. And that very nature, we know if you study reptiles, you study the marine world, sharks, killer whales, etc., the more deadly and fierce of the animal that you can imagine it. Well, Yahweh created that being to cause suffering and torment to other creatures just for the bare sake of just pure torture. There's no other intention. So the question is, if this is a righteous entity, why would you create beings who have no ability to be thoughtful and to evaluate their behavior, meaning to have no free will, and allow them to torment and slaughter and traumatize and oppress all other creatures around them just for food, not even for territory and all of these other reasons, sexual competition, sexual mating competition, and all the other layers of violence and brutality and wickedness. We're just saying just for food. They need to eat. A shark needs to eat. A lion needs to eat. And how sick and twisted and demented and wicked and evil or murderous, purely evil can an entity be or a being be to create and force and obligate other entities and create them with that much need that they would eat and slaughter and butcher and harm other creatures their entire existence. There is no way to resolve that. There's far more species of animals that kill and harm each other than there is human beings. Human beings are only one species amongst primates. I'm speaking of the billions upon trillions of other species of creatures on this planet that are built for sure torment and torture and devouring of another creature. It's called the food chain. So we'll deal with Yahweh or Zeus and how wicked he is or evil he is to have created the food chain, the survival of the fittest. But right now we're dealing with natural disasters where we know the earth has no intention. The earth is not motivated on causing bloodshed and torment and torture. The being that created the earth or the physical body, the physical planet that we're on, has an intention on creating chaos and mayhem to traumatize and oppress and persecute and subjugate entities that are far more vulnerable and weaker than itself, just for the sake of being a brutal and sadistic entity. So the question is, why would Yahweh or Zeus or this creator being, if it's not evil, create the chaos in the environment for the flawed existence, meaning imperfect existence, intentionally, that will cause so much tragedy and harm that it will swallow millions, about 8 million or so humans in recorded history. Far more, even in the billions of creatures have died because of the earthquakes alone. So why that number? Why would Yahweh allow that many souls that he created to suffer and to die that tragically, and those who survive to be that traumatized that tragically? And why would he create the disaster or the natural phenomena of the danger and the chaos of the event in the first place? Why is that a part? How does that exist in our reality if this is a righteous God and not a being that is a sadistic, manipulative, deceptive oppressor of the creatures that it created? So just contemplate on these questions. These should unravel all of the layers that eventually you'd awaken to if you have a noble character or you have the right intention on removing what will be as simple as removing the lies to reach the truth of what our reality is and what we are existing in. And that's all. So contemplate on that. It's as simple as the earthquakes. Why Yahweh, or why did the Creator subjugate its creation to that much severe of a tragedy or disaster? So peace.